I have a confession to make. Many years ago, I failed in my first business. Yes, and it was really an experience that marked my life. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Let me go back. Let's start where things actually started. I immigrated to the United States to go to school. Now, I'm originally from Guatemala in Central America. My mother is Guatemalan and my father is Cuban. And so all my life, I have been going back and forth between countries because all my family side from my dad lives in Miami. I was very acquainted with the United States. And so when it came time to go to college, I decided to come to Dallas, Texas and go to school there. And I chose to have an associate's degree of arts with fashion design and merchandising. I always dreamed of having my own business and how cool it would be to have a boutique. Interesting enough, my best friend's brother had a boutique in Dallas, Texas. And so while we were going to school, I was always going to that boutique with my friend and visit her brother. By the time we graduated, which by the way, shocker, I was in the honor roll. Now, the reason it's a shocker is because all through high school, I was a terrible student. I was a C student at best. Now, some of the subjects I was better at, like for example, math, I loved calculus. So give me a calculus problem and I could solve it like that. Have me memorize somebody's names in history? Forget it. Anyways, so when I went to school, because I guess I was studying something that I really was passionate about, right? Something that was going to allow me to have a business. I just wanted to have a business. And the idea of having a business with clothes and fashion, for me, that was such a great idea. When I graduated, my best friend's brother said, "Hey, would you be interested in buying the boutique?" Now, I don't even know where he got the idea that I could buy the boutique. Oh my gosh, when he said that, I'm like, could I possibly do this? Now, obviously, I didn't have any money at the time. So I went to my father and he decided to offer me the money to put a down payment on buying that business. What I did not know at the time was that this was already a failing business. Now, I didn't know anything about anything when it comes to business. I thought I did. Like whenever you go to college, you think that you have a degree and you have all this knowledge, especially when you have good grades, right? But let me tell you, what you learn in college has nothing to do with what actually happens in business. So here I am, super excited, gave him whatever money I got from my dad, and I started running the business. Now, it was just me, one employee, because I didn't really know I needed anyone else. And to tell you the truth, when I looked at the numbers of sales, I couldn't afford to have an employee. So, but it was okay. I opened to close from Monday through Saturday every week. And I had all the excitement, the will, the spirit to make it happen. And I was there day in and day out, working hard, trying to figure it out. Now, I was supposed to get some help from the person I bought the business from, but how much help do you think I got once that payment was made? Zero. So here I am trying to figure out on my own. At that time, a long, long time ago, there's no internet, there is no Google, there is certainly no AI. And I have no one to guide me or give me any guidance or coaching in any way. And I was realizing week by week, month by month, that the sales that were coming in were not enough to pay the bills. The months kept going by and I barely had enough money to be able to pay my rent. And I was having issues trying to get inventory from the vendors that they were using before. And I had no one to turn to. I had no one to mentor me, no one to coach me, nowhere to get information of any kind. I don't even know how people did it back then with no experience on how to run a small business. And so little by little, I realized that this was not a working business, that there wasn't enough sales to be able to operate it. I didn't have enough product for the people that would come to be excited about buying the things. And some of the things that I had, or should I say a lot of the things that I did have that came with the purchase of the business, was not product that customers wanted to buy. Literally within a year, I would say 10 months or so, I realized that this was not going to work out. And it took me a little while. I remember sitting in the bottom of the stairs in my apartment complex thinking about how I did not know what to do. I was willing to do whatever, but I did not know what I needed to do or what I could do to turn things around. And the realization that now I need to do something else that I never done before, which was basically figure out how to close a business, and how painful it was to have to admit and acknowledge the failure of my dream, and how that dream was really turning into a nightmare, and lessons that I just didn't want to have to learn, but I did. And so I started planning, I would say for about 30 days or so, what I was going to do, because I needed to figure out what was going to be the next thing, right? But before I even thought about the next thing, I needed to take care of this one thing, which was this failing business, and what to do to close it, because I didn't have any money anymore. I took the inventory that I could out and talked to the company that was my biggest vendor, I guess, which was my landlord. I went to this big old enormous building to let him know that I didn't have any more money and I couldn't continue to pay the rent. And I think that when they met me, and honestly, I don't even know if the lease was even transferred to my name. I mean, it was so many things that were wrong in that whole process, so many things that I learned in that whole process. But I literally just took the inventory that I could out of the building and was trying to figure out what was going to do next to be able to continue to pay my rent and my bills and live. That's when the pizza delivery driver drove in front of me. I was in the shopping center where the store was, a cute boutique. And I realized, you know what a great job that must be. You're always in your car, listening to music, delivering pizzas. People are always happy to see you when you get there. No stress, no responsibility. You're done with the work, go home, and then you do it again the next day. That's what I thought, you know what? I could do that until I figure out what was next for me. But I don't want to tell you much more about that, because that would be the story for the next time. But what I do want to share with you is a couple of things that I learned out of that phase of my life. First of all, I learned how important it is to have knowledge, to be able to understand really anything that you get into, but especially if you're going to get into a business, you really need to truly understand what you're getting into. And while it's true that having a dream and hopes is amazing, the only way that you can truly keep them and be successful and thrive is if you know how to do that. I thought I could just figure it out, and it's not true. If you don't have a mentor, a coach, or the education, how do you figure it out? Now, it's true nowadays that you do have the internet and you do have certain ways to learn information, and especially if you're in franchising, right? You do have your franchisor, the business consultant, but truly they're not going to be there with you day to day to teach you everything that you need to learn. So anyways, the first thing that I learned is how important it is for you to really truly understand how to run a business. I also learned that running a business is not easy. It is very hard. And even when you do know what to do, it is still hard, because knowing what to do does not mean that you're able to do it when you want to do it. But the first step is to be able to know what to do. And once you do that, understand that it's not going to be an easy endeavor. Now, with time and experience and growing and scaling with a team, it becomes easier and easier, but it's really hard work. So I have a whole lot of respect, especially for all those men and women that are in a single unit franchise, running that by themselves or with their family. It is hard work that you cannot delegate, unless you truly scale. I definitely learned that a lot. I also learned how painful it is when you are failing, how the struggle that you feel, the anguish that you go through, not only with the failure, but then what next and what to do. That level of understanding and that lesson that I got is really a lot of what drives me today in the academy. People always say I have a lot of passion for what I do and a lot of energy, but I will tell you, a lot of it is driven by the understanding of what happens when you fail. What happens when you see that your business is not going the way that it's going? And when now I have the clarity of what to do, I do everything that I can to be able to transfer that clarity to our clients and our customers and the franchisees that we serve. So those are the lessons that I learned in that phase of my life. It was not a fun time, but I would tell you that I don't regret having gone through it, because it really, I think, is a lot of what built my character and my understanding of humans, dreams, hopes, and hard realities and tough decisions, and the impact of not knowing what you do not know. So if you are a franchisee or you know a franchisee that may be going through hard times, or even if they're not, if you believe that they should be doing better or could be doing better, please tell them about us. Tell them about the American Franchise Academy and how we are really here to provide the 35 plus years of experience that we have gone through and learning not only from my personal experience, but from all the customers, all the franchisees that we have served. Everything, all this knowledge is truly in all of our education, and we do know what to do. If this is something that resonated with you, that you look into it, and if you know someone that this could help, please send them to our website so that they can learn more about us and give them the opportunity to have this dream not only continue to be true and alive, but also thrive in the long term. So with that being said, see you guys in the next time. Bye-bye.